A boy was beaten to death. The man who did it served 5 months. Then he walked out of prison, opened a gym, and got on with his life. The boy's father waited at the prison gate on the day of release, just like they'd planned. But the father never showed up. And 15 years later, Jang finally finds out why. Rainbow Transport doesn't just take new cases. Sometimes it goes back for the ones that never got finished. Commander Jang receives a call from an old friend, Dongju. The man says he's waiting outside a prison, reminding Jang of a promise they made years ago to meet there today. Jang drives straight over. Nobody's there. He has Gaun trace the call. It came from a public payphone. Nearby, a nursing home. Jang walks in. He finds Dongju, but Dongju doesn't recognize him, doesn't remember making the call, doesn't remember much of anything. A staff member explains, Dongju was in a car accident years ago. It triggered severe Alzheimer's. He's been here for 5 years. Jang settles Dongju's overdue bills and is handed a personal questionnaire, a wellness form Dongju filled in during a clearer period. Every single answer circles back to his son's grades, his son's ambitions, his son's disappearance, his son's death. For Dongju, the world stopped the day his boy was taken from him. Jang reads it in silence. Then he goes home and drinks. The crew notices Jang's mood. He tells them everything. 15 years ago, Jang watched the justice system fail people over and over. Dongju was one of them. His son, a boy named Aho, was beaten by a classmate named Lim and later died. But the evidence was thin, the lawyers were sharp, and Lim walked out with a 5-month sentence. Dongju stood on a bridge the night of the verdict. He had a note in his pocket. Jang happened to be there. He talked Dongju down, told him that dying wouldn't reopen the investigation. The judges and prosecutors wouldn't suddenly grow a conscience because one grieving father jumped off a bridge. Jang reached out his hand. Dongju took it. After that night, the two men met every week. They combed through every detail of Aho's case, went back to his school, searched for witnesses. Nobody would cooperate. Teachers deflected. Classmates went quiet. Jang tracked down the original case files through a contact at the prosecutor's office. When they arrived, whole sections had been blacked out, clearly redacted by the defense law firm. Jang stormed the law firm and refused to leave until they handed over the unredacted originals. He made it clear he would keep coming back until they did. They gave in. Inside the files, a video. Footage of Lim attacking Aho in a gym, but there was something else. A shadow in the corner. Lim was clearly talking to someone, a second person, hidden behind a locker. Face never visible. Dongju visited Lim in prison and asked directly, "Who were you talking to that day?" Lim's eyes slid sideways. He said nothing. Jang read the body language clearly. Lim was hiding someone. That same day, Jang half-jokingly made Dongju a promise. When Lim gets out in 5 months, they'd be waiting at the gate. If either of them was late, the other got a free meal. Dongju laughed. They shook on it. 5 months later, Jang was at the gate. Dongju never came. When Jang went to his clock shop, the shutters were down and the place was empty. Dongju had vanished without a trace. 15 years of guilt come out in one sitting. The crew doesn't let Jang sit in it. Doki puts it plainly, stop looking backward. Dongju's memory is fading fast. They may have weeks before it's gone entirely. Whatever justice looks like for Aho, they need to find it now. Doki and Gaun pull the 15-year-old case files from the archive. They both understand the client here isn't just Dongju, it's also Jang. This case has been unfinished business for him since the day he stood on that bridge. Doki re-examines the old footage frame by frame and catches something nobody noticed at the time. After Lim attacked Aho in the gym, a figure walked out of the building, and that footage was used in court to prove Aho was alive and walking after the altercation. Lim's sentence was reduced accordingly. But Doki notices the person leaving the gym uses the opposite hand from Aho. Wrong dominant hand. The person who walked out wasn't Aho. Someone else put on his clothes and left in his place to create a false alibi. There was a second person involved, and they've been hidden for 15 years. Ga-eun locates Lim's current address. He's the owner of a fitness gym now. Comfortable, established, untouched. Do-ki parks his 5283 taxi outside. Lim walks out and gets in without suspecting a thing. The destination? A funeral parlor. Lim walks in carrying a bag full of cash. Do-ki follows. The guards around the building don't look like mourners. They're watching the perimeter. This isn't a wake, it's a casino. Using a new antenna device developed by Curly and Mushroom, Do-ki gets a clear interior feed. No coffins, no grieving families, rows of gambling tables, private rooms, serious money moving. Ga-eun traces Lim's finances back 15 years. The timeline is telling. Within weeks of walking out of prison, Lim's name appeared on the deed of a luxury apartment. Nobody gave him that money for nothing. The crew's conclusion? Someone paid Lim to keep his mouth shut about the second man in that gym. The apartment was the price of his silence. Do-ki launches a precision pressure operation designed to crack Lim's nerves without touching him. Lim finds a note on his car, a greeting from an old friend. Back at his gym, a staff member passes on a phone message. Someone named Aho called for him. In his mail, a handwritten letter signed with the same name. Lim's composure breaks. He checks every security camera. He finds footage of a hooded figure near the gym. His hands won't stop moving. He drives straight to a university campus and finds a volleyball coach, a man named Cho. He demands to know whether Cho actually buried Aho's body. Do-ki watches the whole exchange from a distance. Cho doesn't flinch. He stands over Lim and lectures him like a man with nothing to fear. That's confirmation. Cho is the shadow in the footage. Cho is the second man. That night, Dongju has one of his rare windows of clarity. He recognizes Jong. He actually sees him. Jong takes his hand and makes the promise again, out loud, directly. What I couldn't finish 15 years ago, I'm finishing now. Dongju nods. Then the window closes. Ga-eun digs into Coach Cho. His career makes no sense on paper. A former professional volleyball player whose performance was consistently bottom tier, who retired early due to poor results, yet somehow landed a head coaching position at a university. That kind of appointment doesn't happen without help from somewhere. Do-ki's read. Cho and Lim have an arrangement that goes back 15 years. The match-fixing operation they're running now is almost certainly built on the same foundation as Aho's murder cover-up. One crime enabled the other. Do-ki walks into the funeral parlor casino alone, cash in hand, playing the role of a reckless gambler. Ga-eun feeds him guidance from outside through an earpiece, telling him what to bet. Then a problem. A staff member discovers another player is wearing a hidden camera. The casino installs detection equipment. Do-ki's own device is about to be swept. He makes an excuse and steps outside before the scan reaches him, but without Ga-eun's real-time guidance, he can't run the operation alone. He doesn't know how to gamble. Curly, it turns out, has an unusual skill set. He can pull any card he wants from a full deck, sleight of hand refined over years of questionable recreation. New plan. Do-ki goes back in as the gambler. Curly joins separately, pretending they've never met. Do-ki loses deliberately, loudly, attracting attention. Curly wins quietly, systematically, controlling the table from across the room. They work the room in perfect silence. Mid-session, Lim's phone buzzes. He glances at it, puts his chips down, and leaves without explanation. Do-ki peels away too broke to continue, and follows. Lim goes straight back to his gym and disappears into the photography studio, a private room with no security cameras. Ga-eun goes in undercover as a social media content creator, filming promotional material. While the camera rolls, she angles the shot to give Do-ki a full view of the interior through her lens. Nothing unusual, no sign of Lim. Then Lim reappears, out of nowhere, walking back into frame from a direction that doesn't match any visible exit. There's a hidden door somewhere in that room. Do-ki is certain of it now. You can't sneak into a private room that nobody knows exists, so Doki decides to own the building. He returns to the casino with a different objective: win big, make Lim notice, trigger his greed. Curly handles the cards again. Doki turns his losses around in a single hand, then places a bet of 100 million won on the next round. Lim, sitting across the table, is baited into matching it, then raising. Doki keeps escalating. Cash, then his car keys, then everything on the table. Lim goes all in. He puts up the gym deed. Doki wins. The contract is signed before Lim processes what just happened. Doki pockets the gym key and drives to the front door the next morning as the new owner. Gaun tears through the photography studio's computers, nothing flagged. Mushroom checks every wall, every panel, every corner for a concealed entrance, nothing found. The door is there, they just can't locate it yet. While the search continues, Jung has been at the hospital all the clock. Dongju's condition is worsening faster than expected. His lucid windows have shrunk to 3 minutes a day. Every morning when the window opens, he starts a sand timer on his nightstand. He uses those 3 minutes to write in a notebook fragments of memory about Aho, details from the days before his son disappeared, anything he can hold on to before it slips away again. Jong finds the notebook. He also finds 2 rows of numbers written on the cabinet beside the bed. He calls a retired detective contact and asks him to analyze the sequence. The detective's verdict: those look like license plate numbers. Jong thinks back. Dongju nearly walked into traffic outside the nursing home. The notebook fragments, the numbers. It all connects to something Dongju witnessed: a vehicle, a plate, something from the day Aho disappeared. There's a problem. Dongju can't verbally communicate the plate numbers coherently. His speech during the 3-minute window is fragmented, looping, unreliable. Then Jang remembers something. Dongju ran a clock shop for decades. One of the clocks in his store was always broken, permanently stopped at the same time. That time was the combination to his front door. Dongju's memory system was always built around clock faces, not numbers in sequence. Jang slides Aho's old wristwatch onto Dongju's wrist. When the next window opens, Dongju looks at the watch. Something clicks. His hands move deliberately to the watch face and adjust the hands to specific positions, encoding the license plate numbers as clock positions the way he always did. It works. Jang reads the plate off the watch. Back at the gym, Doki re-enters the photography studio after Lim has gone. He studies the glass wall carefully and finds a faint trail of fingerprints along a specific panel. That's where the pressure points are. That's the door. He matches the fingerprint pattern to a code sequence, and the panel slides open. Inside, a room packed floor to ceiling with servers. On the monitors, live betting interfaces for university volleyball matches. Specifically, matches coached by Cho. Doki reads the notes pinned beside the screens. Lim isn't just placing bets, he and Cho are controlling the outcome of the matches from the inside, running a match-fixing syndicate using Cho's authority over the team's performance. 15 years ago, Cho helped Lim cover up a murder. In return, Lim built him this operation. The gym is the engine, the casino is the laundering, the university volleyball court is the product. The whole picture is finally visible.